Sports and mindfulness. The connection is a bit clearer than you might have thought before. A study done by Goodman and Koshton synthesizes the impacts and benefits that mindfulness and contemplative practice have on athletes. Student athletes are at a high risk for stress, behavioral, and emotional difficulties. There is a constant pressure to excel in both athletics, personal life, and academic life. Typical sports psychologists have athletes focusing on their internal state and work on suppressing and ignoring their emotions. Control over emotions and unwanted thoughts are a large part of typical sports psychology. Unfortunately, studies have shown that attempting to simply control one's emotions is not a beneficial approach for athletes. Acceptance and commitment therapy has evolved and is an approach that emphasizes mindfulness. The core message is to observe and accept what is beyond one's control or ability to change, and to commit to actions that are aligned with personal values. As defined by the article, mindfulness practices bring conscious attention to the present moment in a receptive, curious manner. In practice, athletes who engage in mindfulness are more likely to experience flow, a state of energized focus during athletic performance. A second approach is that of more directed at athletes called mindfulness acceptance commitment. With this approach, one first goes through psychoeducation with a group, then practices exercises on how to react to experiences on an internal level. A study was done with an entire Division I men's swim team. The experimenters used that same MAC program to teach athletes how to be mindful and to accept one's negative thoughts instead of suppress them, gain insight of their personal values, and commit to their values through internal and external behaviors. After weeks of contemplative practice, the group of athletes reported less perceived stress, greater mindfulness, and a greater goal-directed energy than they had previously experienced. Many athletes choose to take part in the contemplative sciences. You may even recognize a few of them.
A study done by the French Institute of Sport examined the link between mindfulness and acceptance practices and sports performance, specifically with golfers and swimmers. Using practices that focus on bodily awareness, the athletes became more mindful of their bodily sensations and were able to use that heightened awareness to fine-tune and notice the exact movements of their bodies, allowing them to swim faster and hit more precisely. In addition, the athletes were able to sense exactly how they felt before a race, or make more accurate tactical decisions before a shot that also impacted how well they performed during the actual sporting events. The different positive outcomes and impact that were found through the study showed that this method of using mindfulness and acceptance practices with elite athletes may have incredibly sport-specific benefits, rather than simply a blanket benefit like lower athlete burnout levels.
Hi, I'm Becca. I'm a fourth year on the field hockey team. After my last season, I actually got stress fractures again, and I've gotten them pretty much every year of college, but this time it was pretty serious. Like I had cracks in my bones from like my knee down into my ankle, so I've been out for like almost 6 months now. I couldn't run or do any impact things like field hockey, which was my sport. I used the Calm app and Headspace app when I first started. I thought those were really helpful because you don't have to keep like checking the time, which can be a huge distraction when you first start. But then as I kind of got more into it, I realized I liked doing my meditation actually like in yoga at the end of it when I started getting busy, or walking. But I think the apps are really good when you're first starting. When I got hurt, I really had to like shift my training. So I had to do, well, for a while I couldn't do any exercise, which was pretty tough from going from a D1 sport to not doing anything. And that's probably how I got mostly into meditation and yoga. Yoga was pretty much like the only workout I could do. So before I like had never really given it a chance, and then when I started going, realized that I actually really liked it. And meditation just helped me kind of like accept like where I was at, and just not expect my body to do more than it could at the time. It honestly helped me like with stress too, because before I used working out as kind of a stress release, and kind of like depended on endorphins to kind of get me through my everyday. So I think meditation and yoga gave me a good like a new way to kind of release stress from school and work.
Gratitude is a domain of mindfulness that is used to express thankfulness. An article written by Lung Chen and Yang Qi defines gratitude as an estimate of gain coupled with the judgment that someone else is responsible for that gain. The article describes a study that was done to assess the impact of gratefulness on athletes, to predict their team satisfaction, personal satisfaction, and their burnout rate from their sport. Many sports champions relate to the idea of gratitude, especially before games or before their matches. Exploring great gratitude in the realm of sports is important. The study states that the expression of gratitude is likely to help promote athletes' personal growth if there is a relationship between athletes' well-being and gratitude. In the study, the first group was used to observe the relationship between dispositional gratitude and well-being. The second study looked into the relationship between sports domain gratitude and also well-being. The first study specifically looked at one's gratitude in their daily life, while the second study examined gratitude in athletic performance. Study 1's results said that dispositional gratitude predicts greater team and life satisfaction and inversely predicts athlete burnout. Findings from Study 2 displayed that sports-related gratitude positively predicts team satisfaction and negatively predicts athlete burnout. There is a strong gratitude and well-being relationship in the second study. This analysis shows that gratitude and adolescent athletics and well-being are well related.
I found that for me, I'm more focused meditating right before bed. I know a lot of people it's different. It's when they wake up, they like to do it. So I think it's finding a time that actually is best for you and utilizing that time. So I don't know if in a team setting would be good, but I think giving student athletes the resources to do it on their own would definitely be beneficial.
I was an athlete for as long as I can remember. As a competitive swimmer and water polo player, I thrived on knowing that the more training time I put in, the faster I would swim and the more goals I would score. Because swimming is such a low-impact sport, I didn't face the same threats of injuries that I did with other sports, but eventually the morning practices and long hours caught up with me. I developed tendonitis in both of my shoulders, and senior year brought the decision of whether or not I should take a spot on a varsity roster, quit completely, or find a balance between the two. Eventually, I realized that I couldn't give up sports completely, and I decided to become a goalie for the UVA club team, reducing the amount of swimming I would have to do and the strain it put on my shoulders. After 4 more years of continuing to deal with those same shoulder problems, I needed to make a decision of whether or not I wanted to continue playing for my 5th year. After taking a mindfulness class, I finally came to terms with the fact that my body wasn't always going to work exactly how I wanted it to, but that was okay. I've accepted that I can't be a competitive athlete forever, and I was able to understand my feelings so that I could make a decision that was not only good for my body, but that would also make me not long to still be on a team. Even though I decided that my time as an athlete is over, I was able to use mindfulness to help me not only make that decision, but also to work through those feelings in a constructive way.
At the beginning of the semester, I got hit with the field hockey ball, which caused me to get surgery and be out of playing for several months. And still, 6 months later, I'm gradually coming back to the sport. Mindfulness and sports have become an impact on both my mental and my physical state. I think one of the most important aspects I've learned is through the mantra of living in the present moment. There have been so many times after becoming injured that I reflect back to when it happened and think, if I had just not been standing there at that one moment and that one time, I wouldn't have been hit. Or I look into the future, waiting for when I will feel better and want the current time to fly by so I can be 100% again. Mindfulness and compassionate thinking have altered my mentality. I have learned to, despite my current physical state still, live in the moment and instead of resenting my physical pains, accept them. One way I particularly dealt with my injury is through the breath. I use the breath as my anchor when I am in pain or feel set back because of the injury. I take a few mindful, deep breaths to relax, and I almost immediately feel better. Implementing mindfulness practices also help me when balancing schoolwork and field hockey. It allows me to clear my mind before a big game or through with any other obligations I have to do. Whether it is taking a test or preparing for a match, I feel much more in the moment when doing the task at hand, instead of thinking about all the other assignments I have to do.
For me, meditation has really helped me, not necessarily for sport, but for fitness. Just for my everyday practice. I really enjoy cardio, and I struggle with it sometimes because I was actually born 3 months premature. There are a lot of complications that came with that, but one of which was that my organs, some of them, didn't really completely develop to full size, and so my organs will always be a little bit behind what they should be for my body size. That really comes into play when I'm doing cardio. My lungs can't necessarily hold as much air as they would need to for a person that is my size. They're always a little bit behind trying to catch up, and sometimes that means that I tire out more easily than I would want to, or I get sick easier than other people at times, and it's really been a struggle for me, but meditation has really come into play in many different ways. One of which being, I've learned to really just not judge myself and not judge my body for being the way that it is. Non-judgment is one of the core pillars that we kind of talked about in our class, and it's really become the center of my world, especially in fitness and in academics. The two come together perfect, and to not judge myself when I don't meet my goals. But I keep striving towards those goals because I know that as a beginner's mind, I'm still hungry and want more success in whatever that looks like, and reframing what that success looks like for me and what I can actually obtain in a healthy way. Additionally, meditation has helped me learn how to do body scans and check in with myself and make sure that I'm okay, and if something's hurting, thinking about it more and why is this hurting. Let's think about my internal cues and what external factors could be kind of connected with it at the same time. And I never really tried to connect all of these things before meditation and before this class. So I've really been able to see the benefits, emotional and physical, of what meditation can do for somebody when they're practicing sport or fitness in general.